Guten Tag, everybody. Day 17 of the Euros. Well, to be honest with you, full disclosure, it is actually day 18. But I was just so busy and knackered yesterday that I didn't have time to do the pod. So let me tell you about the journey of day 17. So, well, I had my first good night's sleep in a long time on the evening of day 16. I was absolutely knackered and ended up sleeping 10 hours straight, just dead. You know, that kind of sleep where you don't even remember falling asleep, and you certainly don't remember waking up or having dreams, just out cold. Yeah, I was definitely running on fumes. Anyway, I wake up in Berlin at the lovely apartment, Gerla's lovely apartment in East Berlin that Ollie had hooked me up with, to a text message from Gerla saying that she was coming home and that I needed to find an Airbnb. The reason being, she was out camping, and I guess that supercell storm that hit Dortmund, I mean, I'm sure you saw some of the images, had made its way to Berlin and drenched all her camping gear so that her trip was cut short. So I was like, shit, what am I going to do? So I started looking for some Airbnbs, and there was a few around. I texted Ollie back in Cologne, and obviously there was a game in Cologne that evening, Spain against Georgia, that I had deselected myself from, so I was no longer on the list. And I said to Ollie, what should I do? And his reply was, come home to Papa. So I'm like, okay. So rushed to the train station, Berlin Main Hauptbahnhof, and incredibly, you're not going to believe this, but I walk in the main doors at 11:42, and I look at the big board, and Cologne, 11:46, platform 16. So time to hoof it really quickly. And as you know, I do have this plantar fasciitis thing going on in my right foot. Oh my God, it's bloody agony. It really was. It was so painful running for that bleeding train. But, yep, got it. 4.5 hours later. Not really, actually. I think it was like 5.5 hours later. I got in at 5 or 4:45 to Cologne. I wrote a couple of stories on the train. I mean, to be fair, when the trains are on time and they're running, it really is a magnificent system, and it's an icy train, and through the beautiful German countryside, although it was absolutely lashing down. But yes, got to Cologne at 4:45, got myself a Lime scooter, rushed back to Ollie's, had a 45-minute kip, and then, the England game. Oof. How painful was that? I mean, really, watching England is just... it's just ridiculous. A mate of mine sent me this quote from the BBC, a story, and I've got to read it to you because it's really very good and sums up England. Okay, so it goes something like this. Fathers and footy fans, this from BBC. So this guy says, at this stage, and obviously he's watching the game, at this stage I feel like a confession is in order. I came home from work last night to an empty house. My daughter, young son and wife were staying at my mother-in-law's. I settled down on the couch to watch what I hope would be an improved England performance against Slovakia, but found myself edging closer to the TV as the minutes ticked down. At some point, I started nervously fidgeting with my son's Rubik's Cube and finally snapped, throwing it in a fit of pique at the closest armchair. Only just like England's approach play and finishing for much of the night, my aim was off, and the toy instead hit the radiator and smashed into what felt like 1,000 pieces in front of me. I hung my head in shame, but the TV suddenly caught my attention. England have a throw-in. Mark Gailey flicks it on. Bellingham! My phone bleeps. A voice note from my 7-year-old son James blares out. What a finish! I assumed he hadn't been watching. His love of football is normally countered by an attention span that doesn't reach to a full 90 minutes. But now I realize this was his England moment. He's one of us now. A road of pain and hurt, punctuated by brief, wonderful moments of joy, await him. I should have warmed in, but in one final act of parenting, I instead stoked the flames of hope that torment all England fans and simply replied, "It's coming home, son. It's coming home." Now, if that doesn't sum it up, I don't know what does. But it was a really painful 120 minutes. I mean, even when we went 2-1 up. But I think that's to the point of this energy, this force field that we have around England that prevents them from reaching their full fulfillment because of, our collective negativity. I mean, it was a shocking performance. Again, it's hard to fathom, but there's that weight of the shirt, there's that fear that England players have. But then there's that moment of inspiration. And when you look at the England team, they're not a team. I mean, Slovakia are by far a better team, a collective team. But what England have are some staggeringly good individual players. And Bellingham showed that in just a moment of sheer brilliance. I mean, that bike could have gone anywhere, and instead finds the bottom corner, and the roar from that Gelsenkirchen crowd, that was something. And it's funny, I was just scrolling through Twitter earlier today, which has become so toxic and nasty, I can't even believe I'm on there, but there was these England fans leaving early, saying, "No, we've had enough, gonna get to the tram while it's empty." And I'm sure they're regretting that because, come back. I mean, it was funny. I said to Ollie at the end of full time, right, get Kane off. He's done nothing. And of course, a minute later, what does he do? Finds the back of the net. So Switzerland next. And as you know, I was in Berlin covering Switzerland. They look like a good team. I mean, they're organised, they're disciplined, they got creativity. We're going to have to play really, really well to beat them in Dusseldorf. Unfortunately, I won't be there, heading back to the US on the 4th, but I'll be there in spirit. So obviously watched that game that went until something like 20-9 German time, and then had my match ticket reinstated for Spain against Georgia. So borrowed Ollie's bicycle. It's not an electric bike, but it does have a little, battery pack turbo thing that makes pedaling a lot easier. And incredibly, made it to the stadium at 9:10, and I was in the ground just as Georgia scored. I mean, the noise level was unbelievable. The atmosphere again was superb. And that to me has been such a feature of all these games. Just unbelievable atmosphere. Then the rain came down and Spain turned it on. And in that number 16, how good is Rodri? I mean, I've watched him play for years for Man City, but never seen him live. I kid you not. I don't think he sprinted once. It was almost like, he was wearing carpet slippers and just cruising around the pitch. Although, he seemingly covered every blade of grass. His pass completion must have been off the charts. I mean, he just made the game look so easy. It was ridiculous. I mean, he really is like the head professor and everybody else is just a student working for him. It was an unbelievably classy performance. Can you imagine if he played for England? Oof, how good would that be? But yeah, it was a cracking game. I mean, really. I mean, Georgia was so limited, but oh my God, did they try. And I love a trier. And they put forth max effort, but once Spain got to grips with things, there was only going to ever be one winner. And Spain looked good. And it sets up a rather tasty quarterfinal, doesn't it? Yes, it does. I believe the winner of Spain versus Germany, they'll get to the final, and wouldn't be surprised if they win it all. But yeah, Spain the real deal. So match ends 4-1. I mean, the final stats are ridiculous. Spain had 35 attempts on goal. Georgia didn't have one on target because the goal they scored was an own goal. But you know, it's weird. Even though they were just under the cosh the whole game, it was a really exciting game. I think obviously the clone stadium helps. It's really tight, really loud, really loud. But 4-1 was probably a fair reflection, to be honest with you. I mean, I think if you had a complaint about Spain, it would be that they're not clinical enough. So they scored 4, but had 35 attempts on goal. I mean, realistically, if they had, I mean, I know it sounds silly to say, but if they had a Harry Kane, they probably would have won that game 10-1. I mean, the chances they were creating were gilt-edged chances. The kind of chances that you have to put away against good teams. And that's not to say Georgia didn't show up, but you know, they're not a great team, are they? Anyway, final whistle goes, torrential downpour, and guess what? Yeah, I'm on the bike. Oh, didn't think about that one, did I? The bike, though, I will say this, instead of taking it like 2 hours to get back to the city centre, I was back at Ollie's in 25 minutes. Soaked to the skin. One hot shower later, though, bosh, lights out cold. So that was day 17. Another good day, really. I mean, a lot of travelling, but it's so worth it. I mean, it really is worth it. And if you ever have the opportunity to come to Europe for a big event, you have to. There's something about it. There's something about getting all these nationalities together in an environment where people love football. I mean, I'm watching the game last night with Ollie's wife, and she loves it, and his kid, and he loves it. And you can hear people cheering in other apartments. And you know they're German, and they're cheering the game. I mean, it's just magical. So, day 18. Well, it really is day 18 today. But I am off to train station again. Yep, off to Frankfurt. I have Portugal, Slovenia tonight, and at the Deutsche Bank Park, where I saw Romania, Slovakia just a few days ago. Cracking atmosphere. And yeah, we'll see what the day brings. So glad you're keeping up. Hope you're enjoying this, and I will catch up with you in Frankfurt. Bye for now.